Beatrix Potter, Hilltop Farm in the Lake District. In this video, we'll visit Hilltop, the former 17th century home of the English children's author and illustrator Beatrix Potter. We'll discover the tragic story that encouraged Beatrix to seek a picturesque shelter and see what inspired her to create her numerous famous stories and characters. You'll understand why the writer and artist Susan Branch described Potter's lovely home as living art. Prepare for something cozy, heartwarming, and extremely adorable as we begin our fascinating journey. As a bonus, we'll tell you about a stunning Potter's family secret skeleton in the cupboard. Chapter 1. Miss Potter's Acquisition. Beatrix Potter is famous for her series of small-format books for kids. Though she didn't have children, surprisingly, Beatrix Potter's family tree is remarkable. She is related to Catherine, Princess of Wales. The English creator even gave the Middleton family her original hand-painted illustrations, 4 of which were auctioned for nearly $53,700 in 2006. Beatrix's first cousin, Baron Ashton, was a brother-in-law of Princess Catherine's great-great-great-uncle, the Leeds University Pro-Chancellor, Dr. Arthur Lupton. Her fictional animal character, Peter Rabbit, has become iconic, being the first soft toy patented in 1903. Many characters, such as Samuel Whiskers, Tom Kitten, and Jemima Puddleduck, were all born in a little historic stone house in the picturesque village of Near Sawrey in Cumbria, England. The books by Beatrix Potter also contain numerous pictures based on her house and garden. Beatrix actually bought Hilltop Farm, using the profit from books about Peter Rabbit in 1905. She considered the house and its 34-acre working farm her artistic retreat. The house, with its slate roof and random stone walls, is a great example of Lakeland's vernacular architecture. The farm manager, John Cannon, initially took care of the farm. A year later, Miss Potter even built an extension to the house, a separate wing, so that John Cannon could live there with his family, helping her run the farm. The English writer also learned farm management from Mr. Cannon, as the household included sheep, pigs, cows, ducks, and hens. She even dedicated The Tale of Jemima Puddleduck to his children, Ralph and Betsy, who appear in her illustrations with their mother. Although Beatrix had been living in London with her parents, a barrister, Rupert William Potter, and Helen Potter, she organized the house's renovations and created a charming English cottage garden. She had previously visited the Lake District with her parents a number of times. The landscape inspired her so much that she decided to invest royalties from her first few books into her new rural home. She visited her farm as often as possible, always for several days. Potter used the time to the utmost advantage, sketched the house, garden, landscape, and animals for her new books. Chapter 2. Her Tragic Love. When the gifted illustrator bought Hilltop, she was 39 and already famous for her lovely books. The farm and its surrounding land became her personal sanctuary. She desperately needed distraction from her feelings then. Beatrix Potter had recently lost her fiancé, Norman Warne. He had worked as an editor at a British publishing company which published The Tale of Peter Rabbit in 1902. Norman and Beatrix got engaged, and only a month later, he suddenly died of pernicious anemia. Their relationships and Potter's personality inspired an Australian filmmaker, Chris Noonan, to create a biographical drama film, Miss Potter, in 2006. The celebrity duo Renée Zellweger and Ewan McGregor played the couple in love. In Hilltop, Beatrix tried out her numerous ideas about garden design and interior decorating. She was heartbroken and vulnerable, so Miss Potter put all her energy into planning the new home and its spectacular gardens. Chapter 3. The Gardens. When Miss Potter designed the surrounding gardens, she was reportedly inspired by the cottage-style creations of a British horticulturist, Gertrude Jekyll, who created over 400 gardens in the United Kingdom, Europe, and the United States. Beatrix supported the arts and crafts philosophy and aesthetic when she designed her garden. The movement emerged in the 1860s, curated by the idea that craftsmanship should stress the inherent beauty of the material and that nature should serve as inspiration. That correlates with Miss Potter's vision, as she also valued simplicity, beauty, and utility. When she developed the garden's trellises and paths, she used only local, high-quality materials. The result of her gardening preferences evolved into a chaotic yet charming mix of flowers, herbs, vegetables, and fruit. Beatrix Potter created an adorable traditional cottage garden with mainly old-fashioned flowers. Honeysuckle, sweet Cicely, foxgloves, peonies, lupins, Philadelphus, and lavender cherished her eye in the blooming season. Roses adorned the space around the front door. A part of the garden was dedicated to fruit strawberries, raspberries, gooseberries, currants, and rhubarb. By the way, the rhubarb patch where her book's character Jemima Puddle Duck laid her egg was inspired by the actual spot in the garden. There was also a vegetable garden, with carrots, cabbages, beans, lettuces, and radishes grown there. Now, a local rabbit population tends to visit and eat in the garden, just like Peter Rabbit did. The green-painted gate in her vegetable garden inspired the illustrator to paint it in her stories. However, Beatrix painted Mr. McGregor's vegetables in The Tale of Peter Rabbit, based on a Linghome garden. Chapter 4. Hilltop's Interior. To create a holistic impression and unite the surrounding nature with the home's interiors, Beatrix Potter designed them in the romantic country cottage style. The effect appeared extremely cozy and welcoming. As we approach the house by a long, narrow path framed by flowers, we step into the entrance hall. It still retains its original stone-flagged flooring. The black range depicted in Potter's illustrations was removed, but an identical one appeared in 1983. The walls and ceiling are covered in wallpaper, the exact copy of those hung by the English writer in 1906. There's a grandfather clock on the stairs dated to 1785, a 17th-century oak press cupboard, Chippendale-style chairs, and a Georgian-style dresser, which figured in several of Potter's illustrations. Schofields of Rochdale, a renowned English maker of antique clocks, made the walnut long case clock. The early 19th century furniture dominates the room. If you look to the right of the Adams-style fireplace, you'll see the remains of the antique spiral staircase in the cupboard. A beautiful 18th century English and Chinese porcelain collection is in a hanging wall cupboard. A 1902 coronation teapot is proudly displayed in the cupboard. The Hilltop house features 3 rooms downstairs, a parlor, and a scullery. 4 rooms are located upstairs: the sitting room, bedroom, treasure room, and new room. Fortunately, all of them are now accessible to the home's visitors. The additional rooms included a landing cupboard, a cellar, and a washroom. The washroom wasn't equipped with plumbing. It provided space to wash using a simple bowl of water. An artist herself, Beatrix Potter loved to be surrounded by works of art. For example, the woven carpets decorating the space match those in The Tale of Samuel Whiskers. As we've mentioned the new room, you might wonder what it is. It was actually an extension Beatrix added when she built the adjoining house. The writer called it the library. She decorated it with 5 big paintings by her brother, Walter Bertram Potter, an accomplished artist and farmer. This way, she paid tribute to her brother, her childhood companion. The library features only one window, so it might seem a bit dim inside, especially in the cloudy weather. It overlooks the village of Near Sawrey, depicted by Miss Potter in The Tale of Samuel Whiskers. As we've mentioned Beatrix's brother, we can't help but reveal a little family skeleton in the cupboard. Walter Bertram Potter admired rural life, just like his renowned sister. He chose a former mill worker, Mary Welsh Scott, as his lifetime partner. The couple married and moved to Ashburn Farm in the Scottish borders. However, his wife came from a social milieu which could have horrified Potter's parents. Thus, Bertram found a way out of this ambiguous situation. He kept his marriage a secret for almost 10 years before finally informing his parents. Do you expect a happy ending? Alas. When his parents heard the delayed news, his father simply wrote him out of his will. After a tiny digress, let's return to Hilltop Farm. We'll enter an original farmhouse bedroom located upstairs, which Beatrix transformed into the sitting room. She used it for entertainment. The room's musical centerpiece is a box piano by Muzio Clementi, and Company. The treasure room is the smallest in the Hilltop Farm. It features the original oak flooring. Here, Beatrix kept her most notable items. You'll see the doll's house with the ham depicted in The Tale of Two Bad Mice, and a display cabinet with miniature bronze figures of Beatrix's characters. The only bedroom in the house was Miss Potter's place of relaxation and rejuvenation. Her ornate four-poster bed dates back to the mid-1600s. The bedroom walls are papered with William Morris wallpaper, adding to the romantic cottage atmosphere. Beatrix's husband, a solicitor, William Heelis, carved their initials on the fireplace surround. Wait, what husband? You haven't misheard? There's no mistake. Miss Potter eventually healed her broken heart in Hilltop Farm and got married, which leads us to another chapter. Chapter 5. Marriage and Castle Farm. It all started with Castle Farm. A charming property was located on the other side of Near Sawrey than Hilltop Farm, and Beatrix hesitated whether to expand her household. Miss Potter was quite ambitious. She wanted not only to own land in the Lake District, but also to preserve it from development. 4 years had passed since she acquired Hilltop House when she finally made up her mind. A local solicitor, William Heelis, strongly recommended that she buy a new farm. Miss Potter did in 1909, and she never regretted it. William Heelis soon became her close friend, later a fiancé. The couple had been engaged for a little over a year and married at St. Mary Abbots in Kensington in 1913. Beatrix was 47 years old then, and William Heelis was 42. After her marriage, Beatrix Potter moved into Castle Cottage on Castle Farm. As a romantic and very traditionalist person, Beatrix took her husband's name. She started to sign her correspondence as Mrs. Heelis. When her acquaintances referred to her in a formal manner, Miss Potter, the writer found it very distressing. Fun fact, when the newlyweds arrived from London as a man and a wife, their tenant farmer, John Cannon, greeted them at the station. He wasn't alone, but with a new white bull for Heelis's farm. Though Castle Farm became their main Lakeland residence, Beatrix still used Hilltop as her working studio. She headed there whenever she felt the urge to work. The writer put a lot of effort and soul into Hilltop, so it's no wonder it reciprocated with positive vibes, encouraging Beatrix's creativity. She wrote numerous books in her Hilltop Farm. Let's admit it, some people seem to be born with a gift for making any space a cozy home. What would this cottage look like without Beatrix's influence? There would be plain grey walls and a serene landscape framing the house. Beatrix breathed life into these bold, severe walls and sprinkled her unrealized love to a man who bloomed with flowers every spring. Eventually, Hilltop Farm cured her heart. Chapter 6. Herdwick Sheep. According to the laws of the genre, this chapter should be named Children. Alas, Beatrix didn't have kids but was deeply involved in the local community. One of her passions was breeding and raising Herdwick sheep, a sheep breed with coarse grey wool. She even purchased Troutbeck Park, a huge sheep farm in South Lakeland, Cumbria, England. The farm risked being sold for development, but Beatrix had other plans. She bought Troutbeck Park in 1923 and maintained it as a working farm. Even though the sheep were disease-ridden, she managed to restore the farm to agricultural health. Beatrix became one of the most prominent Herdwick breeders in the Lake District, winning prizes at the local shows. She was elected president of the Herdwick Sheep Breeders Association in 1944. Beatrix Potter, sorry Mrs. Heelis, came into history as the first woman president of the association. Unfortunately, before she could take this role, Mrs. Heelis died. Before her death of heart disease and pneumonia at the age of 77, she also served on committees to better rural living and strongly opposed hydroplanes on Lake Windermere. The writer left almost all of her funds to the National Trust, as well as her 15 farms, including Hilltop Farm. It was a generous and significant gift, as this way, Beatrix protected the unique Lake District countryside. According to biographer Linda Lear, the writer's net worth would be the equivalent of no less than $10 million today. Chapter 7. National Trust. Now, we approach the present times. What fate has Beatrix's Hilltop home faced? The National Trust has done a marvelous job maintaining the famous writer's house. The visitors mark that a fire is kept burning in the grate in the entry hall, and the grandfather clock is still steadily ticking. Hilltop spreads a serene atmosphere, and it has recently become a place for displaying Beatrix Potter watercolors. When the Beatrix Potter Gallery in Hawkshead was closed, the original watercolors of the great English illustrator were transferred to Hilltop. It only adds to a visitor's wonderful experience at Hilltop Farm. However, you can't just come there from the street. You must book a ticket 2 weeks in advance. Suppose you find a way to visit Beatrix's former country home. What's next? If you love collecting pleasant memorabilia and tiny bibelots, you may take advantage of the Hilltop shop with a variety of Beatrix Potter books, soft toys, and other adorable gifts. There, you'll find characters like Peter Rabbit, Mrs. Tiggy Winkle, Jemima Puddle Duck, Benjamin Bunny, Jeremy Fisher, Tom Kitten, and others. Chapter 8. Hilltop Farm Worldwide Recognition. With such a portion of aesthetics and cuteness, it's no wonder Hilltop is a beloved destination for Japanese visitors to the UK. People from the land of the rising sun frequently visit the former Beatrix Potter's house. They browse through, are inspired, and bring new, stunning ideas to life. For example, in 2007, Hilltop's replica appeared in a children's zoo near Daito Bunker University in Tokyo, Japan. The replica of Hilltop's home is exactly 33% larger than the actual home of Miss Potter. Such an admiration is understandable, considering her books are culturally important in Japan. The English writer is highly popular there. Her stories were translated into Japanese in 1917. Potter's books were primarily used to teach English and entertain kids. Many Japanese find it sentimental to see the home of the author whose fascinating works they grew up reading. The farm and nearby villages appear in the books The Tale of Tom Kitten, The Tale of the Pie and the Patty Pan, The Tale of Jemima Puddle Duck, and The Tale of Samuel Whiskers, or The Roly-Poly Pudding. Aside from her heartwarming books, Beatrix Potter also wrote a secret diary. When she was a teen, she kept a detailed journal written in code. After Beatrix died, the code still couldn't be cracked. 20 years passed till Leslie Linder managed to do it. The diary is now available online. If you want to know the peculiarities of Potter's life between 15 and 30 years old, we'll leave a link in the description. It's an excellent opportunity to understand one of the world's beloved kids' author's personality. As you can see, Beatrix Potter was an outstanding personality, and her Hilltop home perfectly reflected her gardening passion and decorating tastes. The English writer planned her home according to her own ideals and vision. She considered it her creative oasis, and her charming Hilltop farm continues to inspire visitors worldwide. Though she didn't have kids, she left an outstanding legacy for future generations. Did you like the new format of our video tour? Have you recognized any locations from Beatrix Potter's children's books at Hilltop Farm? We're waiting for your comments. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing for more content like this.